As someone who's been covering Nintendo pretty much since Nintendo Direct started, there's been a lot of talk about the most recent Nintendo Directs that Nintendo had for the Nintendo Switch 2 since the system launched. So the one that was in September, and then the one that we just had recently in June. And some people are saying, well, they're no longer for me, and they're not showing what I want, or no Mario or something. And that's completely fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that's cool. But as like I said, someone who's been around for a very long time covering these Nintendo Directs, yeah, they're no longer for you if you don't remember how bad things were when it comes to Nintendo Directs. And who are these Nintendo Directs actually for? But before we continue, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 at 140,000 subscribers, or on September 1st, whichever comes first. Subscribe, like, comment. The winner will be chosen at random, and it's a worldwide giveaway. Thanks, peeps. So they're for fans who remember what happened in the Wii U days and complain for better. And I know it might seem crazy because we just get stuff standard, like when it comes to Square Enix and other stuff that we're going to talk about here. But back in the day when the Nintendo Directs were taking shape and taking form, where they didn't have quite a concrete formula for them that you see now in the well-polished machine that you see just pumping out games left and right, they're a little bit different back then. If you go back and watch the Nintendo 3DS, the first Nintendo Direct with the 3DS, it was actually terrible. But, you know, they were just starting out there. But the Wii U in that generation from about 2013, the January 2013 Wii U Direct, that's when they really started taking the shape and form that we kind of know right now at this point. And in that Direct, Nintendo was panicking. They were panicking because nobody was buying the Wii U, and third-party developers were just like, yeah, we're not supporting this system. So essentially, they kind of had to throw everything that they had. They had to reveal games too early. They had no third-party support. And that was a major problem with the Wii U. Yes, the first-party games were taking too long to come out. And yes, there wasn't Mario fast enough, I guess. I mean, we had New Super Mario Bros., but people had already been playing the one on the Wii, then the one on the 3DS. So it's just kind of more like a rehash. Although it's a really good game. New Super Mario Bros. U, it's a good game. But there was lacking. It was lacking a lot of the games that people were looking to be able to play on a system that was stronger than the Xbox 360 and the PS3, and those two systems were still getting games, but they were skipping out on the Nintendo Wii U. So the Nintendo Directs of today are for people who remember those painful days of the Wii U Directs, or those painful days of the presentations for third-party developers, and this game would be coming out and it looks really good. You'd see this Japanese game, or you'd see this title, and it's just like, yeah, everything but the Nintendo Wii U. And now at this point with the Nintendo Switch 2, and to a much lighter degree with the Nintendo Switch 1, but definitely with the Switch 2, you're not necessarily worrying about that as much. You're consistently getting announcements for third-party games at these Nintendo Directs that are going to be a blast to play. Third-party titles, I get it. They're not the biggest and baddest when it comes to Nintendo, but having stuff like The Adventures of Elliot, or having things like Tomb Raider, or having stuff like Final Fantasy, or having Capcom games, all this stuff makes the Nintendo Switch 2 a significantly better system than a system that would just have big first-party games, and that's all Nintendo focuses on. So the Nintendo Directs are for people who remember those days and complain to Nintendo pretty much every single day that they need better third-party support. We need more games coming. Even if they are a year or two old, it's better to get them on there than not get them at all, because not everybody buys and plays everything on Xbox, PlayStation, or PC, and people would love to be able to play it alongside, hey, look, I've got a Wii U and I've got this game, or I've got my Nintendo Switch and I can also play this third-party game. And we're seeing that quite a bit when we look at the eShop charts. And remember, this isn't a video to simply just say you're not allowed to critique or criticize or not like Nintendo Directs. That's completely fine if you don't like them, or if you feel like the games in there weren't for you. I have my own critiques, I have my own issues when it comes to certain shows and all that, so don't take this as you're not allowed to critique it, or you're not allowed to not like something or levy criticism at said game, or whatever the case is. That's not it. I'm just giving you guys a little bit of a history lesson combined with what's actually happening here when it comes to Nintendo going forward in the future. The Nintendo Directs of today are also for fans who know that you need third-party titles for a successful platform. Don't get me wrong, first party is the main driver for any Nintendo platform, but some of Nintendo's best platforms when it comes to best sales and everything, they had banger third-party games. Even the Nintendo Switch 1, which only from my count had 2 day and date big third-party games released on it, multi-platform, and that was like Mortal Kombat 11 and Mortal Kombat 1, but pretty much any like action adventure game or big RPG, it was either not coming to the system or it came much later or it was delayed or it just didn't happen at all. The Nintendo Switch 2 is bridging that gap, and we need that. We need big third-party titles. We need stuff like Resident Evil Requiem. That is a huge boost to the system and gives people confidence that you're going to be able to play stuff like Pragmata, Resident Evil, Monster Hunter Stories, and more right there day and date on the platform. And we're getting other day and date games announced. Now, most of the Western stuff, no, but a lot of the Japanese stuff, yes. So we know the people that have been around, the long old school Nintendo fans, if you go back to the NES or the Super Nintendo, you know that you need a steady and good lineup of third-party titles, even announced alongside Nintendo's games, in order for that platform to ultimately be successful. The Nintendo Directs of today are for fans who remember the pain of when it comes to Square Enix and Capcom consistently skipping Nintendo, bringing out some of the best titles over the last number of years, and often you would just see not on the Nintendo Switch 1, or not on the Wii U, or not on the 3DS. And now at this point, you're seeing a lot of their games being announced, not only being announced, but doing well and getting prominent spots alongside Nintendo's big first-party games. And I know it seems like I said multiple different things here with third-party, but guys, this is super important. You guys don't know how good it is. Trust me, if you would have told somebody a decade and a half ago that a Kingdom Hearts numbered game would be coming day and date, a big console title day and date announced at a Nintendo presentation, they would have laughed you off of the face of the earth. That's how bad when it comes to Square Enix and the relationship was with Nintendo when it comes to just big games coming out on the Wii U. Nobody would have anticipated anything like Resident Evil 9 being announced day and date, or even Kingdom Hearts 4 getting the first real gameplay footage shown off at a Nintendo event. Those type of things just didn't happen, and they surely did not happen within a year of each other on a Nintendo platform. It's never happened from what I can call in the modern era of doing the Wii U Directs or the Nintendo Directs. So getting something like that, that is incredibly important. And if you're someone who remembers the problems and seeing all the different JRPGs and seeing all the different titles that just consistently skipped Nintendo Wii U, which it might have been great on there because of the second screen and all that RPG stuff, but just seeing that stuff was painful, man. It sucked, and people online let us have it. You would hear it all the time. These Nintendo Directs are for people who want more than just Mario and Zelda every time. It's cool to have the variety of Xenoblade. You have Nintendo Switch Sports. You have Fire Emblem. You have Star Fox, Splatoon Raiders. You have all these different types of games that are coming to the platform. Mario's going to come. We already know. Nate the Hate told us, just like he told us about Zelda. And a lot of these people that are really going crazy when it comes to some of this stuff, they know good and well that Mario is coming in 2027, but they just really aren't that big of fans when it comes to Nintendo's actual games. They just like a franchise or two, but have a whole theme built around one game that they really like, that they can use to create content and make money off of it. So that's what they've done, and that's fine. It's a free country. You can do whatever you want to, but at the end of the day, they're not looking to actually play a variety of different games and have that type of support that other systems see when it comes to it with first and third party. They're just looking for one game or two, and that's that, and then trying to act like, oh, I'm a big Nintendo fan, when they really don't even play more than just a franchise or so. So I think that me personally, as someone who likes a variety of different franchises across Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, and especially with Nintendo's games, I like Fire Emblem, I like Xenoblade, I like Mario, I like Zelda, I like Smash Brothers, I like a lot of different things. So a lot of the time when we get some of these directs, there's going to be at least 2 or 3 big first-party games that I enjoy, because for the whole generation of the Nintendo Switch 1, I pretty much always got at least one franchise that I know that I like, whether it was Smash Brothers in 2018, or it was like a 2D Mario 2023, or Zelda when it comes to that in 2019 being announced, Tears of the Kingdom, but just the sequel to Breath of the Wild. So there's always something, because I'm an actual fan that likes more than just Mario and Zelda. I can be like, all right, cool, we're getting Fire Emblem, or we're getting Xeno, or we're getting some other franchise, and it's fine by me. So I think that for a lot of people out there, yes, Mario and Zelda, they're drivers. We're getting Zelda. When it comes to Ocarina of Time Remake, I think that game is going to be absolutely incredible. They didn't show any gameplay footage, but they didn't really need to do that right now, because I think it's going to be an overhaul, and they're going to have something crazy for us at a 40th anniversary Zelda presentation later in the year, once we get some of these other games launched, like Star Fox and Splatoon Raiders and Fire Emblem. I can totally see them dropping that, in addition to having something like Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD in a double pack, just like they did with Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. So for me, at least, it's cool to kind of get that type of variety, and I know that I'm going to be able to get a lot of different third-party games and first-party games. And last but definitely not least, Nintendo Directs are for people or fans that realize that there will be more Directs in the future with a variety of games. Listen, guys, this platform is going to be around for a hot minute. Like, it's not like it was in the N64 days where your generations are 4 or 5 years or so, maybe 6 years. The generations are getting to 7, 8 years plus. You're going to see revisions of the hardware, and I personally don't want to see any new hardware anytime soon. I don't care what Microsoft and Sony do or how powerful it is. This past launch of the Nintendo Switch 2 was just too much nonsense for me to take when it comes down to that. The pricing is getting out of hand. The AI data centers are eating up all the RAM. The pricing is just getting too much. We already had one price increase. We don't need more systems coming out. They're going to be crazy amounts of pricing. People already have a hard enough time affording all the games and the time that they even need to play all of this. But here's what I do know. Nintendo's going to have a lot of directs over the course of the generation. You're going to see a lot of different directs. There's going to be different games. You're going to get your 3D Mario. That's going to be announced either later this year if they have a September direct or a fall direct, or it's going to be announced early next year if they decide to have like a April or spring type of direct. So they're going to announce it. It's going to be lit. They're going to have more stuff. They're going to announce Smash Brothers. They're going to announce Animal Crossing. They're going to announce more Pokemon stuff. They're going to have all sorts of games, but you also have to pace yourself. You can't drop Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, Smash Brothers, and all of that within the first year, especially when you already had games like Xeno and Pokemon Winds and Waves and Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza and Pokemon Legends ZA and Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave and the Star Fox remake and Splatoon Raiders and the Duskbloods and all these other games that are coming out as well. You do have to pace yourself over the course of the generation and have those big announcements when it makes sense and closer to when it's really needed compared to what you're releasing for the year. And I understand that, because that's what we saw all throughout the generation with the Nintendo Switch 1. We didn't always get a brand new Mario game announced every single time when it comes to 3D Mario. All we really got was the original Super Mario Odyssey in that launch year, and after that there wasn't anything major outside of remasters or something like Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, like a little expansion type of thing, but there wasn't really anything else when it comes to 3D Mario. There was no sequel or anything like that. We got 2 Zelda games, that was great, but really just one when it comes to the Zelda game built for the Nintendo Switch 1, 3D Zelda game built for the Nintendo Switch 1. So you're going to have these different pacing and these different schedules for these titles, especially as they get more advanced, as the graphics look significantly better, as the file sizes get bigger. All of that is going to take a bit more time, so you got to pace yourself. You can't be just blowing everything that you got like we saw in 2014 on the Wii U, because Nintendo was paranoid and they were really just saying, okay, here's a Hail Mary to try to save the Wii U, and they have no third-party support. So that whole Wii U Direct for E3 in 2014, although it had a bunch of first-party games, Nintendo had really no choice. They had no third-party support, and they had to pretty much just show everything that they got because they weren't getting anything else from anybody else. So when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2, that's not the case anymore. We don't have to deal with that. We can have multiple shows throughout the year. They're going to show off different stuff here and there, and it's going to be a long generation, not a short one, like from 2012 to 2017. Didn't even last the full 5 years because it was November 2012 to March 2017. So it's going to be a long generation, multiple years. I would probably say 7 or 8 years plus that we're going to be able to get directs, at least 2 or 3 directs per a year when it comes to general directs, and they're gonna have all sorts of games. So for me at least, I know that, and I know that I have no problem kind of saying, okay, we're gonna get that big Mario reveal next year. This year is Zelda, this year's Fire Emblem. You know, we're also gonna get Pokemon Winds and Waves next year. We're gonna get Xenoblade next year. There's like a lot of good stuff kind of lined up, but the quality of the games that we're seeing compared to what it was before, if you haven't seen my Fire Emblem video, I do the comparisons, and the jump in quality is just so much better. And I think we're gonna see that same level of jump when it comes to Ocarina of Time Remake compared to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and the graphics there. Different art styles, but from a technological perspective, it's going to be crazy to see what's happening here. Same thing goes for something like Xenoblade. You look at Xenoblade Genesis compared to Xenoblade 3, it's not even close. Like, it blows it out. Same thing with Pokemon Winds and Waves. Way better than what we saw with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Pokemon Sword and Shield. So those are just things that I've realized throughout, and pretty much the Nintendo Directs in today's day are for the all-around Nintendo fan that wants to be able to get a good pacing of software in addition to getting good third-party games to play anywhere that you want. That was the premise that was started pretty much forever when it comes to Nintendo's portable systems, but the home and portable hybrid concept of playing high quality games anywhere that you want is something that's incredibly popular with the Nintendo Switch 1 and now with the Switch 2, and there needs to be games that supply that, not just Mario all day. So those are my thoughts when it comes to that and who the Nintendo Directs are for, and they might no longer be for everyone out there, but they're going to serve a lot of people that are looking for a variety of different things. But what do you think when it comes to everything that I had to say here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, peeps, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.